Steven Universe has been over for 3 years already. Why are you still making content on a dead show? All you can do is milk Steven Universe, even though most of your successful content since the show ended has been on other cartoons that have been over for years, but this is Steven Universe, so it has been.
2020 is almost over, and it's still wild to think that Steven Universe Future's finale was this year. That being said, as we reflect on the good that's happened this year, no matter how little of it may be, I thought it'd be fun to once again dive into the recent Steven Universe art book, End of an Era. And you know, I need a fun little upload for the day. In particular, today I wanted to discuss the Corrupted Gems, an intriguing aspect of the original series that played a crucial role in the final arc. These gems were finally restored in Change Your Mind, and 2 years later, being rehabilitated and eased into a new human gem society at Little Homeschool in Future. But we only got to see a handful of gems that we actually tangled with in the series. I'd even argue the Corrupted Gems fans were most curious about, like the Temple Gem or Desert Glass Gem, were left a complete mystery, assumed to never be seen again. Until this art book, where we got a very sweet treat. During the production of Change Your Mind, Ian Jones-Cordy briefly returned to the Crewniverse to help with various parts of the episode, namely storyboarding the scene where Steven catches and fuses with each of the crystal gems, and the gem bubble bath to conclude the story, taking the look of various corrupted gems and designing what their healed equivalent would look like, some of these winding up in the final product before being tweaked or redesigned in the movie. However, the gems that didn't make it are present and accounted for here front and center, so I thought it'd be neat to run through these designs, complete with the closest to canon gemstone names we have, and voice a few observations and thoughts, starting with Ian Jones-Cordy's designs and closing out with Rebecca Sugar's. And if you want to stay in the loop as we crank out a few more Steven Universe videos over the next few weeks, alongside discussing animation old and new, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. But real quick, a word from our Patreon. We've found over time that a lot of our patrons over at Patreon are insanely talented and are set to go far in their creative endeavors, one of these patrons being Wise Group Productions, a channel dedicated to doing something I think nearly everyone who watches this channel strives to do: tell adventurous, powerful stories through the medium of animation, or animatic in this case. The series they wanted us to feature in particular is Crystal Desires, following a pair of siblings searching for a crystal that can control the entire continent. But they also just launched another series titled A Difference. Wise Group Productions are currently looking to getting their projects funded, because right now, they're just doing it for fun and for free, but rightfully wants to pay everyone involved for their hard work. So the least you can do is subscribe, but if you want to go the extra mile, they also have a Patreon and Ko-fi you can pledge or donate to. Links will be in the description. I really want to see how far this could go. Now back to the video. Alright, starting with Ian's designs, we have the Corrupted Gem that I personally was the most excited to see in the series. The Temple Gem from Serious Steven, who's listed here as Albite, with a look that I honestly adore, even though it's not too far off from her corrupted form. Something that Sugar wanted to capture throughout the original series was that as we got closer to Homeworld, the gems we encountered would begin to look more alien. And I feel like that translates to Albite's design. Her hair shaped like flower petals, her floating detached head and limbs, and her Christmas bulb-shaped hips. And although there's no confirmation in this concept art, I still imagine Albite would have served under White Diamond's court. But now that a lot has happened since the days of theorizing who this gem is, based off what we've seen of Homeworld, I imagine Albite could have been one of the gems used for decoration, like all the wall gems and especially the blinking statue gem we saw in Familiar. Next up, we have the Flower Monster, or as I refer to them as, the Turnip Monster, from Back to the Kindergarten. And it seems like they couldn't really decide, or that it really didn't matter, what her gemstone would be, so she has two potential names here: Grossular Diopside or Titanite. For simplicity's sake, we will just refer to her as the latter. In this state, it appears Titanite's actually a pretty small gem. She doesn't appear to be much bigger than Little Armar. This is one of the more cartoonier designs on the page, as Titanite looks like a mix of Pebbles and Bam Bam. And while it would have been nice to see her inclusion just for curiosity's sake, considering how late in the game Back to the Kindergarten aired, and by this point in the show, the appearance of a corrupted gem just felt a bit random, I don't think there were any big losses in keeping her out. Next, we have the elusive Slinker from Reformed. You know, the gem who continually pooped Amethyst, who Uncorrupted is referred to as Chrysocolla, and I really like the look of this gem. I'm starting to wish they brought Ian in to design more gems in the Era 3 arc, because my lord, a bulk of these designs just scream homeworld in a way where a bulk of the jades miss the mark. Chrysocolla's body resembles that of a pea pod, while her legs, or lack thereof, reminds me a lot of Aku, and also Shadowy Venomous from OKKO. Particularly how he appears with his tentacle-like flames in Dendy's video channel and Let's Fight to the End. Just looking at this makes me wish we did encounter Chrysocolla, whether that have been on Homeworld or in an alternate timeline where the original series didn't have to wrap it up sooner than expected, some sort of storyline where they got to appear as a villain, because if their final appearance was remotely like this, you know they've already would have made for a fun villain. And I imagine those slinker tendencies carry over to the actual gem. Next up, we have the original look for an Uncorrupted gem that made it into Change Your Mind before she was redesigned in the movie, the Bubble Buddies Worm Monster, Orange Spudjumine. Now that we have a full look at her Change Your Mind design, I gotta say, wow, she's a lot shorter, and just like Titanite, her look here once again reminds me of a Flintstones character. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they had the idea for a Pebbles and Bam Bam type duo, or at least if that was just something Ian himself was going for. But of course, it could always just be a coincidence. But I don't know, I kinda like this look better. Up next, we have the bird monster from Giant Woman, who lacks a labeled gemstone name here, but wow. I kinda wish she also made it into the final product, because all of us referring to Pearl as Bird Mom had another thing coming. I love that her giant hands resemble feathered wings, and it really makes me question the purpose of this gem. What was her purpose? How often did she utilize her flight? Now I gotta be honest, it truly sticks out amongst the rest of the Homeworld gems, and hell, the crystal gems, and I'm sure they recognize that, hence why she didn't make the cut. Next up, we have an earlier design for Pixpite, originally named Aventurine. She's one of the Uncorrupted gems who got redesigned the least in between Change Your Mind and the movie. The biggest difference is, she originally had a tutu. Afterwards, we have the Desert Glass from Steven's Lion. Another gem everyone wanted to see Uncorrupted because, I mean, look at her. She's a pillow with a gemstone on it. How are you not supposed to be curious? That being said, we really can't surmise much out of Desert Glass, but I will say she is one of the Uncorrupted gems who design-wise would fit perfectly into OKKO. And I love that her shoes look like potted plants. Next up, we have the Gem Cave creature from Arcade Mania, who Uncorrupted is actually a blue Chalcedony. Again, nailed the Homeworld vibe. The helmet is a great touch, assuming that is intended to be a helmet, as I feel like more Homeworld gems should have had those on deck. I get that every gem from Homeworld isn't going to have a helmet as a weapon, but it's really fun seeing how those kind of accessories can differ from gem to gem. Like Jasper's first helmet, shaped like Yellow Diamond's gemstone, and her completely badass helmet in Future, which complement her horns. So I love seeing the more icy, crystallized helmet here. And Chalcedony was a gemstone I really wanted to see, so it's validating to see that she was at least on the table. Another classic corrupted gem I would have loved to see was the Invisible Gem monster from Island Adventure, who turns out to be a Moonstone. Which is crazy to me, because I remember back in the day, it was heavily speculated that Zircon was a Moonstone. Her Uncorrupted look here reminds me of an Undertale character, or just a Shy Guy. I'm assuming once fully colored and animated, Moonstone's actual body is probably translucent, but the mask, hands, and feet are visible, and she probably would have been illustrated in a way where the general outline of her body is visible. Next up, we have the original look for Larimar and Watermelon Tourmaline, both of which I actually really prefer. Larimar's original look of course made it into Change Your Mind, and I really would have loved the spiky ponytail on Watermelon Tourmaline. And to finish up, we have the Roadrunner Gem from the Kindergarten Kid. No gemstone name, only speed. And yeah, it would have been great to see an Uncorrupted gem who's just literally Sonic. I wonder what the diamonds use her for in Homeworld. And last but not least from Ian's page, we have the Lighthouse Gem from Horror Club, who, surprise surprise, is actually a white topaz. Another topaz? That would have been sick, especially with the Scars of Corruption. Production-wise, I understand why we had a lot of Uncorrupted quartzes in the movie in Future, and sure, they're varied enough, but seeing a mix of new faces and Homeworld gems that we really didn't get to spend much time with their own little effects of corruption, I feel like that would have helped elevate the already exciting atmosphere of Future. But I digress. Let's run through Rebecca's page. Again, we have the Uncorrupted quartzes, Lace Amethyst, Blue Lace Agate, Crazy Lace Agate, who's apparently a fusion, signified by her eyes and nose gems. There's another mystery, but explains her larger size, and makes sense considering she is one of the crystal gems from the war. In particular, one of Bismuth's homies. So of course she'd be a fusion, something that Homeworld once viewed as taboo. Then of course we got Ocean Jasper, who of course is one of the corrupted gems that Jasper Pokemon in Season 3. The Nephrites, led by our unique Senti. God, I wish she appeared in future. Angel Oracorts, a cloaked and ashamed Jasper. I really wish we knew what happened to her during the time skip. Zebra Jasper, Biggs Jasper, the other gem who was briefly under Jasper's control. The final look for Watermelon Tourmaline, who is also a fusion. Her two different colored pupils, those are her gems. But Rebecca leaves the joking note that this gem is basically the homeworld equivalent of Onion. Or maybe that Tourmaline is a fusion between Onion and a gem, but I'm going to assume it's the less nightmarish of the two. Next up is Snowflake Obsidian, who I noticed has the most notes from Rebecca pointing out all her little design details. Good, because she's the best. Little Armar's redesign, the cute, cuddly, fashionable gem we all love, still a little frozen. Orange Buttermine, with her proper redesign. Granted, she's really just taller, her water dreads are covering her eyes. And last but not least, Big Spite's final design, but again, not much really changed. They just took away the tutu. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Which do you wish appeared in Change Your Mind, the movie, or future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, or tag us at Roundtable Vids on Twitter or Instagram. And you can find more of me at Ostrich Fox. And special thanks to JANKYBONES for creating an awesome thumbnail, especially on a short notice. Please check them out on Tumblr at JANKYBONES, Twitter and Instagram at BoneJanky, and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Link in the description. Shout out to our amazing patrons for keeping us going over at patreon.com/roundtablevids. And if you enjoyed this video, please throw a like and subscribe. I hope the rest of the year is kind to us all, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya!